Hello and welcome back to the course. In this lesson we'll be creating the fourth scene in our animation. First of all, right-click in the project window, New Composition. Name it Scene 4. We'll use the same presets we've used up until now. The duration will be 4 seconds, 10 frames. Okay. Right-click on the timeline, New Solid, and we'll call it Background. And leave it a white color. Lock the background. Now for this scene we are going to create a magnifying glass and we'll make it here in After Effects. Go to the ellipse tool and double click and we get this ellipse the size of the composition. Here we have our shape layer. Change the name to something like Mag Glass. Go to the path of the ellipse. And here we can see the size. Press Alt and double click here so you can adjust the height and the width separately. So we'll make it 230 pixels on both. Use this color code and apply it to the stroke. Make the stroke 25 pixels. Now remove the fill. With the Mag Glass selected, go to the rectangle tool and double click. Like before, we have a rectangle the same size as the composition. Go to Fill and Ctrl V to paste the code from before. Remove the stroke. Go to the size of the rectangle in the path and we'll make it 35 by 50. But as you see, I can't because I didn't click here on Constraint Proportions. Now we can. Zoom in. Move the rectangle to about here. Ctrl D on our rectangle to duplicate it. Lower it to go underneath the first and go to the size of the second rectangle. Make it 60 by 80. Copy this color code and apply it to the fill. Ctrl D on this rectangle to duplicate it and move it down to about here. Go to the path of rectangle number 3 and set the roundness to 25 pixels. OK. Place the anchor points for the animation here on the handle of the magnifying glass. Now we're going to create the bars. Again, double-click on the rectangle tool. Let's go to its path, remove Constraint Proportions and change the size to 120 by 380 pixels. We are going to adjust the scale, but we don't do it in the transform options of the rectangle, but in the transform panel of the whole layer, right here. Find the scale and click to create a keyframe. Our timeline should be at the beginning. Remove Constraint Proportions and go to second number 1. Click for another keyframe. You need to make sure that the anchor point of this layer is at the bottom, so that when we adjust the scale, it doesn't go from the middle, but from the bottom. Select the layer and you can see that the anchor point is in the middle. So with the pan behind tool, you can adjust this and move it down. Now on the second keyframe, set the scale to 55%. Select both keyframes, right-click, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. At the beginning, it's at 100% here. But we need to make it 0%. And that's our animation. Go to second 2, frame 20. Add another keyframe on the scale. Then go to second 3, frame 15. Another keyframe and 0 here on the scale. Go to Graph Editor, where we have these two curves here. Make sure you're on the Edit Speed graph. Move these anchor points like this to get the effect of speed in the middle. The red lines you see are the animation of the scale on the width, and as we didn't adjust any value there, they appear as straight lines. So it doesn't really matter if you move them by accident, it won't change anything. Let's take a look at what we have. Why am I doing all the animation for just one of the bars? Because all we're going to do after is duplicate it to get the other bars. This way we save a lot of time. Change the name of this layer to bar 1. Place it around here. Hide the glass for a moment. And now we are going to duplicate it. So Ctrl D to duplicate. And twice more, so we have 4 in total. Press U to see the keyframes. Place yourself here at second 1, where the keyframes are. Select bar 2, which will move to the right, around here. We'll do the same for bar 3 and bar 4. On bar 2, in the scale percentage, put 80%. Set bar 3 to 100%. And 4 to 125%. We need to do the same for these keyframes here. So this one to 125%, this one to 100, 80%, and leave this one at 55%. It seems that all the keyframes have been modified on bar 3, so let's just fix that. There we go. Let's take a look at the animation of the bars. But the one that starts first should be bar 1, so let's select the keyframes and move them forward a little, about 3 frames. Let's see. Great. And we need to do the same for these keyframes, but in this case it's bar 4 that starts off first, so we need to move the keyframes forward and adjust the rest as I'm doing. Now we are going to animate our magnifying glass that we created earlier. Place it on top like this and make it visible again. Place it around here. Press R to get the rotation and then Shift S for the scale. Go to frame 1 and add a keyframe on the scale and the rotation. Then go to second one and place another 2 keyframes. At the beginning, we need to set the rotation to 100% and the scale to 0%. Now select the 4 keyframes, right-click, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. Go to Graph Editor and the Edit Speed graph. Let's drag the anchor points towards the middle again, so that the part goes faster. Do the same for the rotation. Like this. Let's see it. Okay, we need to set the rotation of the second keyframe to 45%. There we go. Now what we'll do is add an expression to the rotation, so the magnifying glass keeps moving. Press Alt and click on the stopwatch. Type wiggle. Open brackets, and here you need to input the frequency. So we'll put 1 second, then a comma, and we'll put the magnitude, which will be 0 to 25 degrees. Close brackets. See now how the glass keeps moving constantly. Okay, let's add the text. Go to the text tool. Click to type. Font Verdana bold 85 pixels. Place it like this. Make sure the paragraph is aligned to the left. Our anchor point is here on this side. Using Pan Behind, move it up a little. Duplicate the text with Ctrl D. Drag it down, and then you can write your next line of text. Set the font type to regular and the size to 70. To make this animation, what we'll do this time is convert these texts into 3D layers. You need to activate 3D layers. If you can't see this option, then you need to click on toggle switches at the bottom. So just select the 2 layers to make them 3D. In Transform, see that we now have X, Y, and Z rotation. In this case, we'll adjust the Y-axis. Add a keyframe. But go to second one. Press U. And there's our rotation keyframe. Do the same for the second text. Go to Transform and add another keyframe to the Y rotation. Again press U. Now go 25 frames forward, another 2 keyframes. And here in rotation, we need to adjust the degrees so it seems the texts appear out of nowhere. Click on the degrees on the rotation of the first text and drag it to the left. Clicking on it and using the arrow keys, you can go up or down one at a time. Let's leave it around here. Do the same for the other text. Before the effect, we have these lines here. So what we'll do is make the text appear from where we have the keyframe. Then it looks like this. Select the 4 keyframes, right-click, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. Go to the Graph Editor. Select the Edit Value graph. On the first keyframe, we'll adjust this point here. So this curve is over this line and we get a kind of bounce back effect. Something like this. Adjust the other pointer around here. This is the effect. Do the same for the other text. Preview. Now we need to adjust the second text a little. Move it about 5 frames forward. Much better. Turn the guides on so we can just place our animation properly. Okay. And now we need all the elements to disappear. The bars already disappear, so start with the magnifying glass. Press U to see the keyframes. Go to second 3. Select these 2 keyframes and Ctrl C to copy them. And Ctrl V to copy them here. Go to the first keyframe. Select them and Ctrl C. Go to second 3, frame 25, and Ctrl V to paste. So here we have the same animation. But we need to go to the graph editor, edit speed graph, and we'll apply that same effect to the middle. Both for the scale and the rotation. Now we can see the effect of the elements disappearing. We need to also make the text disappear. Press P for the position on both of them. Go to second 3, frame 5, and add a keyframe for each text on the position. Go to second 4 and add another 2 keyframes. Select the 4 keyframes and right-click Keyframe Assistant Easy Ease. And here on the keyframes at the end, we'll drag the text out a few like this. Go to the graph editor and do the same effect of dragging the points towards the middle. Let's take a look at the animation. We need to make this text disappear first, so select the keyframes and move them back a little. Zoom in and activate this option here called Enables Motion Blur. Put the timeline around here and select this option. And you see that if we activate it on these 2 layers, we get this blurred effect. Let's preview to see what this does. Great, and with that, our 4th scene is finished. We'll move on to the 5th in the next lesson.